Ya, selamat pagi, cikgu-cikgu kaunselor daripada sekolah rendah. Webinar untuk hari ini akan dimulakan. Good morning everyone. Our webinar will be beginning now, and let me introduce our first speaker, Dr. Wong. You have seen his face over there just now. Dr. Wong is a child, adolescent and adult psychiatrist in private practice in Sydney, Australia. He has a wide range of experience in treating different disorders across all age groups and diverse cultures. Apart from his practice as a clinician, Dr. Wong is also a trainer, supervisor, and lecturer in psychiatry. Dr. Wong has created many apps in mental and psychological health to help people. And today, he's going to deliver his speech and share his experience with us in the topic of back to school, finding certainty, normalcy, and maintaining well-being in the new normal of COVID-19. Let's invite Dr. Wong.
Thank you very much, Fatima, for that introduction. And to start off with, I would like to express my tremendous heartfelt gratitude to be able to participate in this mental health forum, especially for children and adolescents. I think this is a very urgent topic, and I'm glad that the Education Council of Penang, in support by the government and co-organized by the Open University and being in partnership with the Mental Health Association of Penang, have taken upon this special task to organize this event. I have to say that it is a tremendous privilege of mine to be able to share with you. And as Fatima has introduced myself. At the moment, I'm actually living in Australia, but my root is still pretty much in Malaysia because that was where I was born. Today, I've been given a pretty important and big topic, and I hope that within the 35 minutes that I can share with you about this topic, it would be the beginning of us having a dialogue together, as well as going forward in order to help the Malaysian children and adolescents to confront this whole issue of mental health as results of COVID-19. Now, that is just a very brief biography about myself, just to sort of let you know that, I've been trained in psychiatry, and my subspecialty is actually in children and adolescent, and I'm particularly interested in actually empowering the young people and their families. I think as a doctor and clinician, we are the people who actually come alongside our young people, but at the end of the day, our task is actually to empower young people so that they can lead a more fulfilled life free of mental health issues. Apart from my clinical practice, I also have a website and thehealthymindconcepts.com, and please feel free to explore that. I have actually left my email address there, drwong@healthymindconcepts.com. So after today's webinar, if you have any questions or whatever, do feel free to drop me a line or to share some thoughts that you have. At the end of the day, we are actually working together for the well-being of the Malaysian young people. So I do welcome some feedback, as well as ongoing working together, as well as cooperations and for the good of the Malaysian young people. So to start off with, I just want to briefly go through my intention within the next 30 to 35 minutes. And what I hope to share with you today is to come to an understanding of how COVID-19 has actually affected us in the way of socially, politically, as well as economically. I'm sure a lot of us know that as a result of COVID-19, which has actually a far-ranging worldwide effects on the entire world population, that life is quite never the same, not only for the adults, but also for the children. I also hope that we can come to understand a bit more about the Malaysian children and adolescents, many of what we call the Gen Z population, and that is those people born between 1996 and 2015. As I would like to share with all of you that the Gen Z has very special needs that are quite different from the generation before, as well as from the generations of their parents. And knowing their needs and their peculiarities, then we can much better address some of the issues that are confronting them as a result of COVID-19. And we would also come to appreciate how COVID-19 would actually change the world of education, not only in Malaysia, but also worldwide. And hopefully, by understanding them and by understanding the effects of COVID-19 on the world and on education, then we are actually in a much better place to navigate and help our young people to find a sense of certainty and to have a sense of normality and to maintain well-being in the midst of changes. So to start off with, I just want to share a brief clinical vignette with you all about my conversation with a 12 years old Gen Z. And we were just sitting down, and in my work with young people, I usually spend a great deal of time talking to them, and I do mainly individual counseling or individual psychotherapy of about 50 minutes. I use all sorts of different modalities, but the older the person is, the more likely it is that I would actually use a conversational style sort of narrative therapy. And it's quite interesting during my session with this young person. It was just a few weeks ago that I had a talk with this person, and he reflected on how his childhood has been affected in one way or another by the September 9/11, and how the Gen Z actually is also affected by the global financial crisis. I asked him about his experience of living in this world, and he says that as a Gen Z, his life by and large, he feels that it's a bit uncertain because, you know, they are very well informed of environmental degradation, global warming, and some of the issues that are facing the young people. Now, it's very interesting that he actually say that the Gen Z is actually what we call the native digital generations. In other words, ever since they're born into this world, they do not know of a world of an analog world. They have always been born in a digital world with a lot of the social media and a technology. And he also shared that as a result of the immediacy of knowing the world, and there's a lot more in the way of anxiety and depression. And I asked him, what does it mean? And he says social media and IT, apart from actually helping them, a lot of times do cause a sense of alienation, and sometimes because of what the social media has come to dominate their life. There's a lot of cyberbullying and anxiety and depression of being left out. And so he says that as a Gen Z, they have a lot of mental health problems. I asked him, what do you think about the future? And he says, well, we don't really think much about the future, especially with COVID-19. Now, I'm not too sure how the Malaysian youth or the Malaysian children and young people would actually react to my questions. What do you think about your future? I would dare to say that Malaysia, being quite a westernized country, the young people would probably give the same answer, that we don't think much about the future, especially with the impact of COVID-19. Now, at this moment, I just want to share with us the effect of COVID-19. It is interesting that a little virus like a COVID-19 that we know very little about, it has actually caused a lot of social problems. Now, what do I mean by the social problems? We know that as a result of the social isolation and the distancing, there's a lot of isolation psychologically. So when we come to helping our young people, we just have to understand that it is just not the physical distancing, because young people themselves, they like to have a sense of connectivity. At the height of the lockdown, a lot of the young people are not doing very well in terms of being isolated from their friends, and psychologically they feel pretty much alienated as well. Now, some of the things that are very important milestones for a person's growth, such as the celebration and of different milestones, have come to stop as a result of the COVID-19. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean, like the school graduation and the speech day and the prize giving and all those things. And those are very, very important things that which helps the young people to anchor themselves. And not only that, family celebration of culture, of maybe Hari Raya and some of the festivals in Malaysia as a result of the COVID-19 has come to a halt. I also put the issue of mourning as well. Now, I'm not too sure how many young people have lost their parents and have lost some relatives that are close to them. One can imagine the difficulty when you have lost someone that you love, and as a result of the COVID-19, you are not able to go through the normal ritual of mourning and grieving. And not to mention the suspension of cultural and religious rituals that I've just mentioned. So these are the sort of things that actually compound the social isolation. Now, when it comes to other issues like the unemployment and the retrenchment, I'm not too sure what is the social situation in terms of the welfare in Malaysia, because we know that in Australia, for example, a lot of the kids' parents have lost their jobs, especially those in the entertainment, in the hospitality industry. And we know that on a worldwide basis, 100 million people have been driven to poverty as a result of the pandemic. And how about the political problems, the international problems, and the local problems? We also know that the COVID-19 pandemic has been very much politicized as well. And all these things, the social problems, the economic problems, and the political problems are difficult as it is, even without mentioning the educational problems. Kids in Australia, they went to school one day and the next day it was shut down. And a lot of schools were caught quite unprepared, because all of a sudden they have to scramble their equipment together, they have to upgrade their IT technology in order to provide online schooling for the kids. And how about those other developing countries which do not have the same kind of equipment? So students are shut off from their educations as a result of that. Now, put yourself in a situation where all of a sudden there's this social problems, economic problems with parents being unemployed, plus the educational problems. So at the moment, we are not even too sure of the short and the long term effects on these young people in terms of mental health problems. I provided for us a list of the cost to the individuals and families as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, this data is actually taken out of the Australian context and the Australian society. I'm pretty sure that the Malaysian society, by and large, would not be far from what I have written. Now, the COVID-19 has actually caused quite a degree of family disharmony, especially in those families when mom and dad already have much difficulty, and as a result of the lockdown, being confined to a two-bedroom apartment or three-bedroom apartment or in a rental situation. So it has caused family disharmony, parental marital discord, to the extent that the kids' mental health being is actually affected. There has been an increase in what we call domestic violence as a result of COVID-19 in Australia. Now, single parent family have compound problems because of the fact that if the single parents has lost their job, or even with the single parent being able to work from home, then having to supervise the kids' education. Now, not to mention the fact that even though we are talking about children and adolescents, parents do and adults do have mental health issues as a result of the COVID-19, anxiety, depression, adjustment problem, addiction problems. The younger the child is, the more the child's mental health being is actually affected by the parents' mental health. There is an increase in addictive behavior, online gambling, and in Australia, all of a sudden, there are lots more people who go onto the stock market to do what we call share trading, which is actually a form of gambling. And there has been an increase in child abuse and the neglect of different kinds, and elevation of anxiety, depression, substance abuse, not to mention suicide. So from a mental health perspective, COVID-19 has exerted a great cost to the individuals and the families. Now, there is actually a study that came out of Italy looking at 402 patients. These are adult patients which have recovered from COVID-19. Now, it goes to show by looking at the slide that the problems with COVID-19 just doesn't end at surviving the virus. And it just doesn't end at surviving the ongoing physical complications, such as lung damage and heart damage as a result of the COVID, but also the psychological sequelae. Now, at the moment, we don't actually have results from children and adolescents. But if you can just continue to extrapolate and say, look, if parents suffer from this psychological sequelae, then what is the effect on the young person? So we know, for example, that out of the 402 survivals, 28% of them continue to experience post-traumatic stress disorder. 31% continue to experience depression. 42% of them experiences anxiety disorder. 40% continues to have disturbance, and 20% continue to have an obsessive compulsive disorder in the way of contamination, excessive hand washing, and excessive worries about viruses, bacteria, and germs. So there is long-term psychological sequelae as a result of COVID-19. So what are the educational impacts? Now, we know that online school is not actually schooling in itself. And because a lot of times education has to take place face to face. So despite the fact that we have advancement in IT, despite the fact that we can provide schooling for kids and on an online basis, but a lot of them just don't adapt to that. Now, how about those children from poorer families where they don't actually have access to internet technology and to a computer, so which means their education would actually come to a stop as a result of the social isolation. And teachers who are not tech savvy and feeling unsupported have extra burden of dealing with the anxiety and the depression, apart from providing education and teaching for the child. A lot of children too have a lack of supervision. as a result of the online school. I was talking to a teacher about 2 weeks ago, and she was saying that she struggled with providing teaching online, but not on top of that, some of the parents just do not supervise their kids. So she described a situation of how the parents were having conversation in the room whilst the child is trying to log on to the lessons. And some parents just plainly unable to supervise. Now, amongst the children who are going to be affected as a result of the educational impacts, we know that they are the high-risk patients, the ADHD patients. The ADHD students, by and large, they don't cope well with screen because looking into the screen is just not school. Looking into the screen remind them of the games and the YouTube that they so often indulge in. And the ASD students as well, having a lack of a sense of safety. Depressed students who cannot even log on, or I have some young people who actually log on, and then after that, as soon as the role is taken, then they just return to the bed. Anxious students who find it difficult to know what is going on in the online class, and also those who are also already at risk of school refusal. I have a number of patients who struggle with going to school, and during the COVID-19 lockdown in Australia, and then when school resumed, they just couldn't transition back to school because they are so used to just logging on and taking their own time. So having to meet the demands of being physically at school as well, and they continue to have school refusal, and obviously those with specific learning difficulties. So we know that there's a great educational impact on the children. Now, the factors which affect mental health, when you look at the COVID-19, you can actually look at it as a form of trauma. But the problem with COVID-19 is that at the moment, we do not yet know the degree of the actual impact. I mean, what I'm going to deliver to you today, a lot of times is working out from first principle about the long-term effect on the children. At the moment, there's no proper study done. And the other thing about this trauma that the school students, or rather that we face, is that there's no end date. Now, whenever a person have a trauma, if there's an end date to that, then you can actually kick yourself into a time of adjustment. So with this thing about the second lockdown and the third lockdown and the second wave and the third wave, it actually creates a lot of uncertainty, a lot of angst in a lot of young people and adults alike, because there's no end to that. People talk about the vaccine, and then we don't know when the vaccine is going to come into being. So there's a lack of expert voice, and a lot of people offer their opinion. There's issues of different theories, and there's ongoing lack of connectivity and the lack of social support. Now, the thing about a person, when the person is going through trauma, is this, right? We need to have social support. Now, the problem with COVID-19 is because every one of us is facing the same problem. Every one of us has been affected one way or another. So you're not going to get much in the way of sympathy. And now that is a real factor, because whenever we go into a state of decompensation, whenever we are faced with a trauma, if only somebody can come around and say, hey, look, I'm going to look after you. I understand, what you're going through. But in this case, because everybody is going through the same thing, none of us would experience much in the way of a comforting voice. So as a result of that, we sense that there's a lack of social support. Kids sense that there's a lack of social support. Now, we know that whenever a person goes into a state of uncertainty, if there's very much in the way of some choices as to what you can do and what you decide to do and to take place, then that makes it a lot easier. One of the problems about COVID-19 is that element of personal choice and autonomy has been taken away from the young people. So let's look at the COVID-19 and post-COVID-19 landscape. And the new norm now is face mask, hand sanitizer, temperature check, hand washing, and social distancing. And not only that, the new norm now is what we call the national safety bubble. Um, in Australia, we are beginning to open up at the moment. We have a international bubble with New Zealand, and so that sense of national safety bubble increases a lot of angst of people. And not only that, there's also the whole issue of personal safety bubble as well. At the end of the day, if you're in public, if you cough a bit, then you have to apologize and you say, I'm sorry, I don't have COVID-19. There are many times I say that to my patients sometimes because in my profession, it involves quite a bit of talking. And sometimes when I cough, I have to say, don't worry, I don't have COVID-19, or when I have to blow my nose. So there is that sense of putting the other person at a distance. And so human touch then is not possible as a result unless you live in the same family. You can't shake hands with people, and young people, they can't rumble together. So that is going to be the landscape until such time that we find a solution. So with all those changes, but the psychosocial development tasks remain the same for school-age children. So what are the two main tasks for school-age children? So this is the time when they actually have to increase competence, and in terms of the learning, this is the time where they have to have a sense of establishing their identity as adolescents. Now, just because of the COVID-19, it doesn't mean that that two tasks that they have to achieve all of a sudden has come to a stop. They still need to go to school, they still need to acquire skill, and they still need to grow as a person to establish their identity, but with much difficulty. So looking into how to help these young people, I think what we need to do to help these young people generally is what I call to increase protective factors. Now, with any mental health issues, a very easy way to think about mental health issues is to think about what predisposes the person to have a mental health issue. So these are family histories and the personality and the personal physical health and the general well-being. Then we talk about the trigger. So in this case, the trigger is the COVID-19. But apart from that, if you think about mental health as a balance, okay? On the one hand, you have the risk factors. On the other hand, you have the protective factors. So in order to help our young people, a very good way is to think about how am I going to increase the protective factors of these young people? Now, when I talk about I'm talking about I as a parent, I as a teacher, or I as a school counselor. So I think in order to maintain that sense of certainty, as far as possible, we still want to have a sense of that personal and cultural rituals that, yes, despite the fact that the world is a bit different, there are still things that we do normally to celebrate milestones in the family, in the society. So we try to maintain that as much as possible. A lot of things in life revolves around relationship and increasing attachment, increasing strengthening relationship in order to have a sense of personal security and safety is very important. Now, when a person goes through a time of calamity and a time of trauma, for the person to have a knowledge that, look, at the end of this, I still have very strong relationship that can help me to go through. Now, that is very important. So if I'm talking to the school counselor, a lot of times it doesn't have to be a prolonged kind of deep conversation or counseling, even checking in with the young person for that 5 minutes every day, or checking out, for that 5 or 10 minutes at the end of the school is very important, because the person feels that there's somebody, the student feels that there's somebody that I can actually relate to. And we need to increase a lot in the way of the personal competence. It is very important to see the young person, the child, what areas of personal competence the person has. Now, it doesn't have to be academic. It can be other forms, because having a sense of personal competence is just going to increase one's self-esteem as well. And so increasing pleasurable event schedule, and increasing membership to different communities is going to have a sense of increased belonging. Now, that increased belonging is just going to fight against this whole notion of isolation and alienation. So if I can put it in a nutshell, the A, B, C, D, E of the protective factors. Now, I actually have a look at the program, and I think that some of these things that I'm going to mention would be covered a lot more in the workshop. And I think children, whether they have face-to-face schoolings or online schooling, we have to encourage them to actively learn. Active learning is a very important in the way of protective factors. It also increases one's sense of competence as well. Now, being aware of the present. Being aware of the present, I think a lot of children have to be taught about that. Being aware of your environment, being aware of how you feel, acknowledging your feeling, being aware of the other person, and being aware is a step towards mindfulness, is the very beginning. I know that somebody is going to do a workshop on that. I think it's either today or tomorrow. So being aware helps us to anchor ourselves in the present moment rather than being excessively worried about the next day or tomorrow. Connecting constantly is very important. And whilst I say that the social media and the IT has its negative side, but we can also connect on a virtual basis. Like even today, for example, I'm connecting with you guys and over the net, and being able to participate in this webinar. Of course, connecting physically face to face is a much more superior form, but in the midst of that personal bubble, in the midst of that isolation, then being able to connect on the FaceTime, and being able to connect through WhatsApp, being able to connect through Zoom, for example, helps in building up that relationship and doing something for someone. Young people have to be encouraged to do something for someone, because once you do that, then you're more likely to be outward focused than inward focused. So enjoyment and exercise. So in my practice, at the height of the social isolation, I tell my young people, I say, look, there are three things that I want you to do. There are three things that I want you to do, okay? And the first thing is, right, and I want you, right, to be grateful for some learning that you do today. And the second thing is that I want you to do something simple that gives you a bit of enjoyment, right? It could be sitting out in the sun. It could be listening to your favorite DVD. It could be watching your favorite sort of YouTube. And the third one is that I want you to be doing some sort of exercise. So those are the three kind of protective factors, and which help our young people. Now, apart from that, obviously, then you have to look into other issues, and which got to do with addressing the specific mental health issues. So what is the response of the school, or what should the response of the school be? I think as far as school is concerned, if we can do the usual things as much as possible, as per normal, I think that is very important, and be very alert to mental health issues. We know that mental health issues among children and young people, adolescents, have skyrocketed as a result of the pandemic. And learning to read behind the bad behavior, because not all bad behavior is bad behavior. Some children don't know how to express their feeling, their distress feeling. So as a result of that, they are actually going to show more in the way of negative behavior. And be aware of the silent depressive, and especially girls, because these are the sort of kids that who do very, very well, and after that they just fall over the cliff. And we always have to be very aware of what is the norm for these students, and what is the norm for these students. So be aware of that personal deviation, and destigmatizing mental health issues. I think that is very important. I hope that one day mental health would be part of the curriculum in the Malaysian school as well. I'm not too sure whether it's actually part of that. I think this day and age, with young people, with or without the COVID-19 suffering from mental health issues, I think more and more we have to destigmatize mental health issues. And I think it is very important to teach very basic stress management and distressing tolerance skills to our young people. But by that I mean the relaxation, the mindfulness, and the ability to tolerate distressing emotions, whether it is anxiety and depression. And of course, if there is an anxiety disorder and a depressive disorder, then the school counselor would need to work hand in hand together with the child and adolescent psychiatrist or the child therapist. And last but not least, I think we should not forget the teachers, because I think whilst we are focusing our attention on to the children, we have to understand that teachers are also equally affected. So at the end of the day, the teachers are also at the front line, and they also need quite a lot of support and help. So that is in a very basic sort of nutshell what I like to share in this 30 minutes. And some of the things that I talk about can be expanded further. I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kam Wong, for sharing your practical experience with us. Now, I would like to ask the audience, to pose any questions. We have 5 minutes. You can use the mic over these two sides. Yep. Yeah, I think everyone is very much probably still reflecting on Dr. Kam Wong's speech. Yeah. Um, May I suggest that we proceed to the next speaker, and then after that, after the three speech, we will have a Q&A questions. Yeah. So while reflecting, you can actually also jot down any questions that you have. Yeah. And now we are very delighted to have Dato Dr. Liew to be the second speaker for today. Let me introduce Dato Dr. Liew. He has been practicing medicine since 1987 and is a highly experienced consultant child and adolescent psychiatrist. Having been trained in family therapy and cognitive behavior therapy, he used a multidisciplinary approach to patient care. Dato Dr. Liew pursued child and adolescent psychiatry training in Oxford, UK in 2001 and 2002. Upon returning to Penang, Dato Dr. Liew established the Two-Way Center under the auspices of the Penang Mental Health Association. The center conducts assessment and intervention for children and adolescents with special needs. Dr. Liew is also an associate professor of psychiatry at Penang Medical College. He has actually contributed a lot to mental health in Penang and the whole of Malaysia. Now, I would like to invite Dato Dr. Lai to start his speech. He will focus on his specialty in children with special needs, the challenges caused by disrupted routines and therapy sessions in the new normal.
Halo, halo. Okay. Good morning, selamat pagi, salam sejahtera. My wife will help me read my notes sebab I OKU penglihatan, I can't see the slides. I have a visual impairment, so my wife will read, Indranee will read for me and then I will comment. Okay.
Children with special needs, the COVID-19 challenge, disrupted routines, altered therapies, and returning to school. Some basic information.
Bila kita kata tentang children with special needs, what do we mean? Apakah makna children with special needs? So biasanya when we talk about children with special needs, we think of a few things like kanak-kanak yang ada ADHD, kanak-kanak autisma, and then kanak-kanak dengan dyslexia. Okay, these are the three main things we think about lah. So I like to go into little bit sedikit tentang apakah ciri-ciri yang utama dalam kanak-kanak ADHD, autism dengan dyslexia.
ADHD, disorder of self-regulation, decreased activity of prefrontal cortex of the brain, poor concentration, overactivity when young, impulsivity, emotional dysregulation, impairment of executive functioning skills or poor organizational skills, unable to prioritize.
Satu cara untuk memahami kanak-kanak yang ada ADHD ataupun kanak-kanak hyperaktif adalah macam ini. Tiap-tiap otak kanak-kanak ada satu bahagian di depan otak itu yang berfungsi sebagai seorang policeman, okay? Ataupun pengawas. So fungsi dia untuk mengawasi gerak-geri fungsi otak yang lain lah, bahagian otak yang lain. So anak-anak biasa otak mereka ada polis atau pengawas di sana untuk bagi tahu kanak-kanak itu apa yang dia boleh buat, apa yang dia tak boleh buat, bila dia perlu berjalan baik-baik, bila dia tak boleh lari, bila dia perlu duduk di atas kerusi diam-diam. Tetapi otak kanak-kanak yang ada ADHD, polis itu sudah tertidur. Okay? Pengawas itu tak sedar. So tak ada pengawas, tak ada polis dalam otak, so budak itu tak ada orang bagi tahu dia apa boleh buat, apa tak boleh buat. Jadi dia lari sini, lari sana. Bila cikgu mengajar, dia pun berdiri pergi tempat duduk orang lain. So biasanya dimarahi cikgu. Okay? So dengan fahaman ini, guru-guru sekalian lebih fahamilah mengapa kanak-kanak ADHD macam itu. Bukan sebab dia sengaja nak buat you marah. Bukan sebab dia sengaja nak nakal. Dia memang tak ada policeman dalam otak dia, tak ada orang bagi tahu dia apa yang boleh buat, apa yang tak boleh buat. Okay.
Autism spectrum disorders, impairment of language development, social-emotional development, obsessive-compulsive-like symptoms, sensory hypo and hypersensitivity, more prone to developing post-traumatic stress disorder symptoms.
Okay. Kanak-kanak yang ada autisma, dia ada 3 ciri yang utama. Satu adalah language impairment, okay. Kebolehan dia bertutur, kebolehan dia berbahasa itu terganggu. Biasanya dia susah nak bagi tahu orang lain apa yang ada dalam fikiran dia, perasaan dia susah nak bagi tahu. So bila budak-budak autisma itu dibuli budak lain. Okey. Budak lain pandai cakap, dia bagi tahu cikgu itu ini, tapi autisma tak tahu macam mana nak bagi tahu cikgu. Dia yang buli saya dulu ataupun dia yang buat saya dulu, dia tak tahu cakap. Jadi kebanyakan masa cikgu hanya dengar cerita dari sebelah. Jadi budak autisma sering di punish, hukum secara tak adil lah. Okay. Then yang kedua, social impairment. Perkembangan sosial mereka itu terganggu. Okay, mereka tak pandai bergaul dengan budak-budak lain, tak tahu bercakap, tak tahu berkawan. So biasa mereka macam dibagi duduk seorang lah, dipencilkan. Okay. Okay, and then bila di dalam kelas kalau ada birthday celebration, ada kawan-kawan nak jemput budak-budak lain pergi birthday party dia, biasanya budak-budak autisme tak dijemput sebab mereka tak pandai berkawan. So budak-budak autisme biasanya tanya ibu bapa, mengapa kawan saya jemput semua orang pergi birthday party, dia tak jemput saya. So ibu bapa dengar macam ini pun susah hati kan. Okay, dan yang ketiga is mereka biasanya suka sesuatu yang ganja sikit. Okay, they like certain special things. Macam dinosaur, hanya dinosaur, ataupun kereta, hanya suka kereta. You beli mainan lain bagi dia, dia tak suka. Dia hanya suka kereta. Okay, they like certain things. And then ada juga yang suka yang pilih makan. Dia hanya makan nasi putih dengan telur. Itu saja. You beli KFC chicken bagi dia sedap-sedap pun dia tak mau makan. So mereka aneh sikit di dalam segi ini lah. And then some of them have this sensory problem, sensory integration. Dia itu perasaan dia lain sikit. So bila disentuh, kadang-kadang mereka akan rasa sakit. So dia tak suka orang peluk dia, tak suka orang sentuh dia. Ada setengah bunyi yang mereka tak suka dengar. Okay. So ada setengah budak-budak yang bila ada cahaya yang terlalu teriak, mereka takut, tak mau duduk sana. Kami ada satu case yang aneh. Maybe Sylvian can remember that case. Okay, if Sylvian can remember, ask Sylvian to tell you. Okay, what happened is this boy, we have this boy yang ada autism. Dia di dalam dia pergi sekolah homeschool private school. Dia duduk tepi satu tingkap. Sebelum ini dia baik, dia masuk kelas, dia dengar cakap cikgu, semua ikut baik-baik. Dan tiba-tiba 1 bulan yang lepas, tiap-tiap hari pukul 10, dia akan berdiri, go from his table, go out of his class, keluar kelas dan pergi ronda 1 jam. Lepas itu pukul 11 datang balik, duduk balik meja dia. So cikgu tanya dia mengapa dia tak cakap, marah dia pun tak dengar. Tiap-tiap hari pukul 10 dia akan berdiri, pergi jalan-jalan, datang balik, pukul 11 duduk balik meja dia. So So cikgu-cikgu pun minta cikgu Sylvian pergi check lah mengapa ada masalah macam ini. Cikgu Sylvian pergi check, barangkali itu kerusi dia ada paku ke apa, dia tak suka duduk. Sylvian, you want to tell the story ah?
Sylvian's muted. Oh, she's muted.
Can you unmute? Sylvian sekarang dekat Itali.
Tak boleh balik. Sylvian adalah guru pendidikan khas from the Two-Way Center. No, she's not unmuting.
She cannot lah.
No, she's not unmuting herself.
Dr. Lai.
Yeah. Okay, can you...
Good morning.
Tell the story dalam bahasa Malaysia.
Yeah, it's not our case, Dr. Lai. Maybe someone else.
But you were asked to go, right?
Yeah, I think so. I can tell you the case.
My wife will tell you the case.
Yeah, I think better. Thank you.
Budak ni, alright. Guru pendidikan khas pun datang buat assessment. Ini sekolah swasta. So guru tu, kanak-kanak tu baliklah duduk, tak mau. So guru tu pun duduklah di tempat dia. Check dia punya table lah, dia punya kerusi, dia punya meja semua, nothing wrong. Then dia sudah tahu apakah problem masalah. Alright, okay. Lebih kurang dua atau tiga minggu dulu ada guru yang baru yang datang kerja di sekolah tu. So dia park kereta dia di luar tingkap bilik darjah. So what happened? Why did the boy stand up and walk away every time around 10 something? That's right. Matahari, pancaran matahari kan. So the sunlight reflected off the teacher's car's windscreen and went straight into his eye. So the boy found it uncomfortable, but autistic and cannot express. Jalan lah. Then after that, around 11, he'll go and sit. You know why? It's a simple thing, right? Can you imagine if the school didn't ask for help? After a week or so, what will happen to the boy? Kenapa? Will get caned. So it's a simple thing. So now, what do you think school did? Ask the boy to change his place or ask the teacher to park somewhere else? Ask the teacher to park somewhere else.
Okay. So sekali once kita faham masalah dia, kita solve the problem, pak kereta tempat lain, okay, dia tak berjalan dah. So kadang-kadang kanak-kanak yang ada keperluan khas, mereka buat sesuatu yang macam tak ikut akal. We have to find out why. Once you understand why, then we can help the child. Baru-baru ini ada satu case, dia tak mau hand in homework. Kerja rumah dia tak pass up. Jadi banyak guru pun komplain mengapa dia tak pass up. Sampai lepas 1-2 minggu tak pass up, satu cikgu begitu marah, dia tak boleh tahan, dia went and tampar muka budak itu sampai itu cermin mata dia rosak. That one tu dia tu marah already lah, terlalu marah. Sampai guru besar pun takut, panggil ibu bapa minta maaf, kata sekolah akan bayar cermin mata dia. Later on we found out this boy juga ada sedikit autisma. Dia bukan tak buat homework, dia buat homework tapi bila sampai sesuatu yang dia tak faham, dia stuck, dia tak boleh jalan. Dia tak tahu tanya, minta tolong, dia tak tahu macam mana nak tanya cikgu, dia hanya stop sana. Macam kereta bila sampai ada roadblock, kita stop, tak jalan dah. Kita stop engine, dia tunggu sana. So homework dia memang ada buat, tapi sebab dia tak siapkan yang section itu, dia tak pass up. So di rumah kalau cek buku-buku dia memang semua ada pass up, semua sudah buat, hanya sebahagian tak buat. Bila sebahagian tak buat, dia tak pass up. So itu, bukan dia malas, bukan dia sengaja nak kacau cikgu, Dia memang ada problem itu. So bila kita faham, dan kita boleh cuba tolong mengatasi masalah mereka lah. Okay.
IDD and LD. What do you
Satu lagi keperluan masalah keperluan khas adalah IDD ataupun mental retardation, intellectual developmental disorder, dan LD itu learning disorder ataupun dyslexia. Dyslexia, budak-budak dyslexia dia IQ dia normal, dia pandai. Hanya bila nak baca buku, nak buat matematik dia tak boleh. Okay, semua pandai. Ada seorang budak dia pandai baiki bicycle, ada apa-apa problem di rumah, ibu bapa akan minta dia baiki. Tapi bila minta baca buku, tak boleh. So, it's a specific learning problem. Hanya bila pembelajaran saja dia tak boleh. Bukan dia bodoh. Okay. Next.
COVID-19 MCO as viewed by the child. Firstly, change in daily routines. School attendance has changed to online classes. Educational interventions have been stopped or have migrated online. Reduced or no outdoor activities.
Okay. So dalam COVID, baru-baru ini seperti apa Dr. Wong bagi tahu kita, perubahan. Okay, bagi seorang kanak-kanak, terutamanya kanak-kanak keperluan khas, apa yang berubah, dia tak faham apa itu COVID. So dia hanya tahu, okay, tak payah pergi sekolah ataupun kelas melalui Zoom ataupun internet, dan dia tak dibenarkan keluar rumah. So bagi kanak-kanak maybe ADHD, kalau dia hyperaktif, biasanya dia nak keluar lari-lari di padang, kalau tak bagi dia lari, macam mana? So, barangkali akan menimbulkan masalah lah. Dia akan lari di dalam rumah, lompat-lompat, panjat-panjat sini, sana, dan ibu bapa akan jadi stres. Kan?
Increased interpersonal reactions with family members, decreased personal space and time alone, increased emotional interpersonal stimulation, increased risk for conflicts and stress.
Kanak-kanak keperluan khas seperti setengah kanak-kanak autism, dia perlu masa untuk sendiri, macam personal space. Kadang-kadang mereka tak suka banyak bunyi yang bising, mereka akan pergi ke bilik dia sendiri, tutup pintu untuk cool down. Tapi dalam masa COVID, semua ahli keluarga terkurung dalam satu rumah. Jadi lebih banyak percakapan, bertuturan, kadang-kadang pergaduhan. So the sound level in the house will increase. Bila noise level in the house increase, bagi kanak-kanak, setengah kanak-kanak autism, terutama mereka yang sensitif pendengaran, mereka akan rasa lebih gelisah. Okay, tak boleh pergi mana-mana, nak keluar pun tak boleh. Di rumah pun bising sangat. So that can cause them to be easily angry, irritable. Kan?
Changes in parents' emotional states and verbal expression, increased judgmental and negative comments.
Masa COVID juga seperti apa Dr. Wong kata tadi, ramai ibu bapa yang kehilangan kerja, okay, tak ada pendapatan, ada juga yang dipotong gaji kan. Ada seorang kawan yang saya kenal, gaji dia dipotong sampai satu suku saja, 1/4 of his pay. So kalau seorang bapa yang kena potong gaji tetapi masih kena diperlukan beli makan untuk anak-anak, keluarga, semua dia akan rasa gelisah. Bila gelisah, lebih senang jadi marah isteri, marah anak. So ini semua akan mengganggulah, influence the children, especially with special needs. Dia tak faham. mengapa bapa lebih marah baru-baru ini. Okay.
What does seeing your child on a device mean for you?
Okay. Dulu bila ibu bapa bekerja di luar, mereka tak selalu nampak apa kanak-kanak mereka buat kan. Tapi dalam masa MCO, ibu bapa di rumah sepanjang hari, mereka nampak. Dan mereka akan kata, mengapa anak saya selalu di depan ni kaca itu laptop ke, screen ke, smartphone ke. Actually, dulu pun dia anak-anak itu pun guna laptop and smartphone, tapi ibu bapa kerja di luar tak nampak. Sekarang di rumah semua nampak kan. So they become very upset, gelisah. Actually, maybe nothing has changed. The amount of time is still the same, but because the father and mother see them doing, then they get upset. So the thing to tanya is, bila seorang ibu bapa nampak anak mereka mengguna smartphone, what does it mean to you? So saudara-saudari, bila you nampak anak-anak you guna handphone, apa makna bagi saudara-saudari? Adakah saudara-saudari jadi gelisah, worried, ataupun tak ada apa-apa? Okay? So all depends on what you think lah. Apakah yang dipikirkan saudara-saudari? So if you think that, oh dia main-main, dia banyak buang masa, dia tak belajar. Tapi a lot of ibu bapa tak faham. Children can also learn from the screen kan. My youngest son, dia suka belajar, tapi he learns from the screen. He looks at YouTube, he search for things he don't understand, semua on the screen. Dia bukan hanya main di dalam guna screen, okay? So children nowadays they can study on the screen. So it doesn't mean that if you see your child holding the handphone means they are wasting time. So kita kena check lah betul-betul apa yang dia buat dengan smartphone itu. Kalau sepanjang hari main, then baru kita kata waste time. Tetapi kalau dia guna handphone itu untuk baca artikel, untuk cari maklumat, itu belajar, itu bukan, doesn't mean you must take a book baru belajar kan. Kita boleh take a handphone juga boleh belajar.
Think of a best moment you've ever had with your child. What was so memorable about that moment?
Kadang-kadang sebagai guru-guru counselor, you perlu call in the parents kan. Bila murid-murid ada masalah rumah tangga, you feel the parents are a bit terlalu stres kan kanak-kanak. The expectation mereka terlalu tinggi. Kadang-kadang guru kaunselor, guru bimbingan rasa perlu minta ibu bapa datang. So when they datang, one of the things you can do instead of just looking at the problem, you can ask the parents, tanyakan ibu bapa, do you remember a time when your child was happier, when you and your child were happier? Ada tak masa-masa dulu yang di mana ibu atau bapa ada masa yang lebih gembira bersama-sama anak you? Okay, what was the good time you have? What is good about your child? Sebab bila ibu bapa stres, mereka hanya nampak apa yang tak baik, apa yang tak bagus.
What are some good things you noticed about your child and his or her interactions during the COVID-19 period?
So bila kita kata kita fikirkan masa MCO, we only think of problems, okay? What problem happens in the house? But there are also good things that happen during the MCO. Ada juga perkara yang positif yang berlaku semasa MCO kan. I think you all may have barangkali you ada pernah baca orang-orang berkongsi di atas laman sosial, kata MCO ini membolehkan satu keluarga saya lebih rapat. Okay? Tak ada masa kita boleh duduk sekali, makan sekali, sembang sekali. So some people felt it was a good thing for MCO to happen. Budak-budak remaja tak selalu keluar dengan kawan-kawan mereka, boleh duduk di rumah, cakap dengan ibu bapa, datuk nenek. Okay.
What are some positive changes that you may like to continue happening even after the MCO is lifted?
Apakah perkara-perkara positif yang you dapati semasa MCO yang you harap boleh dapat diteruskan selepas MCO? Saya ada seorang kes budak yang takut pergi sekolah. Okay? Dia 1 minggu hanya pergi 1 hari saja pergi sekolah. Tetapi semasa MCO, cikgu-cikgu dia kata dia budak yang paling bagus. He is the first on the screen. Okay? Bila mereka ada pengajaran melalui Zoom ke, melalui Skype ke, budak itu yang selalu di depan. Okay? Bila cikgu on saja, dia sudah ada sana. So kalau dulu kehadiran dia di sekolah itu 1 out of like 30 or 2 out of 30 days. Semasa MCO, dia is 30/30, full. Yang budak-budak lain yang selalu datang sekolah, mereka yang tak datang ke screen. Mereka yang tak hadir pengajaran di online. So he got praised, dia dipuji, semua cikgu-cikgu, bukan satu orang cikgu saja. Ramai cikgu yang puji dia. Tetapi once the MCO was lifted, bila budak-budak murid-murid diperlukan balik sekolah, mula-mula dia kata nak pergi. First day, second day, third day, fourth day, lepas 4 hari dia tak mau pergi dah. So barangkali dia ada masalah yang lain. Mengapa dia tak? Bukan dia tak suka kelas, bukan dia tak suka cikgu, sebab semasa MCO dia memang sembang dengan cikgu dengan baik melalui laptop online. Tapi barangkali ada masalah lain, okay? Kita belum dapat cari.
Routine, predictability, security, safety.
So kita harap MCO tak di restarted again lah. Walaupun kes kita semakin tinggi ya. If MCO do get started again, dan kita tak dibagi keluar, one important thing, satu perkara yang sangat mustahak adalah rutin. Rutin iaitu kita mesti ada jadual untuk apa-apa yang kita nak buat di rumah. So walaupun dalam MCO, walaupun di rumah, kita kena ikut satu jadual. Jadi pagi jaga pukul berapa, mesti bangun pukul berapa. Lepas itu sarapan pukul berapa, lepas sarapan nak buat apa, kita susunkan jadual itu. Sebab ahli psikologi dapat tahu bahawa kalau kita ikut jadual, kita akan jadi lebih sihat mentally. Kalau kita tak ada jadual, nak tidur sampai pukul 12 tengah hari, lepas itu tak tahu nak buat apa, itu merosakkan kesihatan mental kita. Okay.
Security and safety.
Okay. Security and safety is important. Macam apa Dr. Kemong cakap tadi, di dalam masa-masa yang kurang secure macam COVID, perasaan selamat itu mustahak. Kita perlu bagi anak-anak kita ada perasaan bahawa mereka selamat, di rumah mereka selamat dan secure. Tetapi untuk memberikan anak-anak kita perasaan selamat, ibu bapa kena ada rasa selamat lah. Kalau ibu bapa rasa gelisah, takut, bimbang, perasaan itu akan dirasai oleh anak-anak kita. So ibu bapa juga kena jaga kesihatan mental kita diri sendirilah.
The story of a 2-year-old princess of a household. None of us can take a bath until midnight.
Okay, ini cerita. Beberapa tahun yang dulu saya ada satu case lah, di mana seorang ibu saudara tanya saya, dia kata abang dia baru ada seorang anak perempuan, dia umur 2 tahun. Dia cucu yang pertama dalam keluarga dia. So mereka duduk satu keluarga sekali dengan Tok Wan Tok dan ibu bapa dan ini ibu saudara semua. Jadi semua orang sayangkan budak cucu itu sampai dia apa yang dia nak dia dapat. Okay. So sampai satu tahap di mana budak yang umur 2 tahun ini dia tak mau mandi sampai pukul 11 malam. Dan bila dia tak mandi, dia tak bagi orang lain mandi. So satu keluarga, orang ahli keluarga semua tak boleh mandi. Dia mesti mandi dulu, baru orang lain mandi. So ibu saudara pun tanya saya, apa nak buat Macam mana, apa teknik nak tolong ajar budak ini. Saya fikir ini budak umur 2 tahun saja kan. You angkat dia, you campak dia masuk dalam itu basin water, you mandikan dia lah, apa nak buat. This is an example sometimes when we give too much power to our children. Okay? Kita bagi terlalu banyak kuasa kepada anak. Sometimes because kita terlalu sayang ke. The other day I was asking a father, I said, your children are children. Dia ada 2 anak lelaki. Umur kurang daripada 12 tahun. I said, how much power do you feel you have over your children? You rasa sebagai ayah you ada berapa kuasa mengawal mereka? Bapak kata, I feel I have zero power, I have no power. So kalau bapak rasa dia no power over children less than 12 years old, susahlah. They will use their phone day and night, you tak boleh cakap apa-apa kan. Tapi as a father, children below 12, kalau your power is zero, that means very, very dangerous. Because children so young, the father must still drive lah. Dia macam kereta Dia bagi anak umur 8 pergi guna steering wheel, pergi pandu kereta. Ayah dia duduk belakang. Wah, itu bahaya sangat kan. So budak sebegitu kecil tak boleh macam itu. I told the father, you must take back the wheel. You must be the driver. You tak boleh bagi anak you drive the car. Nanti semua mati.
Power scale, one side parent, the other side child.
So sometimes bagi cikgu-cikgu counselor, you can use this line lah. Ini garis. Okay, you tulis ibu bapa sebelah, anak di sebelah lain. How much power do you think you have as a father, as a mother? Okay, kanak-kanak berapa power you feel you have? Sekarang because I think some parents are terlalu sayangkan anak-anak sampai mereka tak ada power dah. Okay, tapi sayang macam itu bukan sayang, itu memang nak merosakkan anak, masa depan anak. Okay. Okay, itu saja.
If you want to contact Dr. Liew, just use my email.
Ya. Terima kasih kepada Dato Dr. Lai yang berkongsi pengalaman dengan kita, terutama sekali teknik-teknik yang praktikal, ya. Jadi sekarang kita juga ada 5 minit untuk soalan, soal jawab. Ya, jadi guru-guru bimbingan boleh gunakan mic juga kalau ada. Ya, tak apa. Jadi bolehlah tulis dulu ya kalau ada soalan. Jadi sekarang kita boleh jemput speaker yang seterusnya, Datin Indranee Liew. Yeah. So let me introduce Datin. Datin has a 30 years experience in teaching tertiary, secondary, primary and early years education. She consults to schools on behavior management, special education, teaching strategies, and mental health. And she enjoys working with children, young people and adults in developing life skills and coping skills. So we shall now invite Datin to deliver her speech.
Thank you, Ms. Leong. Good afternoon. I have experience working with teenagers and children who have special needs. What I normally do is that I help parents and teachers to acclimatize a child with special needs into a regular school. And these are private and international schools. Now, there is a concept called school readiness. And this school readiness means the child has a social and emotional competencies as well as cognitive and motivational ones. Generally speaking, whenever we think about child being ready to go to school, they are focusing on cognitive. Can read and write or not. We focus on that. Can count. But actually, if the child is not emotionally well, if the child doesn't know how to make friends, education will be difficult for the child and for the school teachers. So there is something called social and emotional development. All right. So within the child, there is self-awareness, self-regulation, social and emotional understanding, empathy and caring, and initiative in learning. Okay. Now, self-awareness will help with interactions with adults the child is familiar with. So family members and of course the teacher. All right. Children spend actually sometimes more time in school than at home. Right. And then self-regulation is important when they are interacting with other children. Okay. Social and emotional understanding, important for group participation. Have you got children who cannot play together? Have you got older children who cannot do group work? Okay. Empathy and caring. Okay. This is also important. You want children who, all right, are understanding, who know how to help other people, who are able to show concern. And, okay, especially in higher levels of education, you want them to have initiative in learning. They will learn on their own. You don't have to be standing there all the time. They can do independent work. Now, so social and emotional development will affect relationships with their parents, with their teachers and their caregivers, and also their friendships. Now, cognitive, social, and emotional development are deeply interdependent. That means they are linked together. Okay? And it is in the early years where children need to have a good foundation in cognitive, social, and emotional development. because emotional health and social competence, all right, will be the foundation for learning and developing cognitive abilities. So it just says that if you don't have proper emotional health, you're not going to be able to learn. As counselors, have you noticed not? Especially some children, their behavior changes, and then you find out later that some loved person in the family died. So that child over the next few weeks, the behavior changes, and a child who's good at completing work will have problems. All right, a child who usually quite sociable suddenly becomes very quiet. And it becomes worse when the parents are divorcing. Now, in the early years, all right, the brain develops during the early years. Okay, so actually, the amount of effort we put into a student's secondary and university education should actually be also put in the first 5-6 years of their lives. And actually, early childhood education is the most important. And the best teachers should be kindergarten teachers. Overseas master's degree holders will teach early childhood. Yeah. So your brain architecture is the different parts of the brain. It's your brain that affects. Okay. And be careful, brain development is dependent on experience. Brain development is very rapid, very fast during early childhood, and it continues even through adulthood. So if a child comes from a stable, loving family, okay, that child will usually be what? Emotionally balanced. If the child comes from a very chaotic, dysfunctional family, screaming, yelling, okay, sometimes there's hitting and whacking, all right, then that child will be rather emotionally unstable. So this is a graph of the human development, okay. Look at this red line first, your higher cognitive function. This is for learning. So this is, where do you peak? Actually, this peaks from 10 years old, months. Okay, it peaks where? Notice everything is in the first few years. This is months, and these are your years. So your higher cognitive ability develops in secondary school years. But before that, language, vision, sensory pathways. So what it actually means is that as an infant, as a baby, and in the first 5 years of life, the children, all right, need to be properly nurtured and supported so that they will develop well. Now, let's talk about stress. We've all been very stressed, especially during MCO. Generally, you have positive stress, okay? Now, positive stress is what happens to your students. No homework, no exam. La, 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 la. That's happened. Now you tell them that there will be a test next week. Okay? Now what happens? Then they start studying. So this is called positive stress. Like when my children were young, okay, my house was untidy, okay, but I made sure it was clean. So the kitchen, the toilets, all are clean. The bed sheets and all are changed, but I don't have time for the stuff around. But when my dear husband tells me, darling, my mother is coming up, suddenly, got extra energy to clean the whole house, Okay, so that is called positive stress. Okay, okay. So tolerable stress. This is the one, but this is the mother-in-law stress. short-term intense stress, okay? But I get everything done, okay? All right. Now, you have continued stress, some more and more and more, you get what? Toxic stress. So we were very worried about our frontliners, the doctors, the nurses and all, every day, isn't it? All right, every day you have to go and wear that thing for what, 8 to 10 hours, yeah? And you're so scared that you will get COVID-19, then you take it back to your home and all. Okay, so if you get stress, more stress, unrelenting, goes on and on, it becomes toxic. And of course, you know the word toxic is poisonous, which will affect you. So now, this is performance and this is level of stress. So you see, I was here. Then when my husband tells me my mother-in-law is coming, zoom, okay? So you stress, good stress. I ended up higher performance. Now I have energy to clean the house, okay? Now, but my mother-in-law decides not to go back to KL. She has decided to live with us. Now, what is going to happen? Dari you stress, sure, jadi distress one. Correct or not? Cannot tahan. I will tell you straight. I am a princess. I am an only child. I have my own room, my own bathroom, and my own study room. Okay? All right. So, what I did was, before we got married, I went and saw my mother and mother-in-law and said, I am very sorry. Quite traditional Chinese family. By the way, I'm Chindian. My father is Indian. My mother is Chinese. And my father's dark genes are very recessive. I'm a daughter of Ramanathan. Okay. So what happened was, I went and saw my mother, my future mother-in-law and my father-in-law, and I apologized first. I said, I am sorry. I am not used to living with, with so many people. You know why? Because his younger brother asked permission from us to get married 3 years before we got married. So they were already living in the master bedroom. My mother-in-law was thinking of kicking them out of the master bedroom so that Taiko here, okay, can go and stay with me in the master bedroom and push them to a smaller room. I said, it's terrible. And I don't think I can live with so many people in the house. So I said, I'm very sorry, it's my fault. We need to live outside. Okay? Because I'm going to be very grumpy when I come home. And I don't want misunderstanding because I respect you very much. I got to live out. Okay? My sister-in-law was not happy. How come you don't even stay at the house? I said, the power of negotiation. Okay, right. So what has happened actually is with COVID-19, people are being pushed to this side. So you notice that when the stress keeps increasing, what happens to your performance? You do more, you do less. So example, if you have workers in factories, the factory operators, if they're very stressed up, more mistakes occur or less mistakes occur. Okay? So I think this may be a new word for you, stress, good stress. So stress can be good. Just remember my mother-in-law, you remember. So now here, I like this. This is a stress performance curve. When there's too little stress, inactive, laid back. A bit more stress, optimum. Okay, up to here. Then after that, this is the climax, If you keep pushing more and more, piling up more and more stress, the person gets exhausted. Performance starts to drop. More stress lagi. Wow. Do you know that when people are stressed up, some of them get very angry. You scold people, you're very, very bad-tempered. Some people are like that. Other people become more quiet and more quiet. They cry on their own. You don't know why you're crying. Then finally, breakdown. This one, you may end up in hospital. So, clearer about stress? I pray that you all are here. Not here. This is very boring. Okay, here. Okay. Right. Now, this is something which most of you, when you were in college, will not have learned. This is something that's quite new, about 8 years ago, 5 to 8 years ago. It's called ACEs. ACE. Adverse Childhood Experiences. Adverse childhood experiences have been, okay, when you have all this, Okay? Adverse childhood experiences can cause risky health behavior, chronic health condition, low life potential. All right? That means what? The person is actually very intelligent, actually could have gone to university and done something, but nothing happens. Or even worse, early death. So there is a very close relationship between adverse childhood experiences and the most serious and expensive health conditions like heart trouble and all. And, all right, you don't need to have, the child doesn't need all these. Just having 2 or 3 of this, it will, all right, means that that person is, okay, in the what? Danger zone. So sometimes you yourself may not understand why you behave in a certain way. Go and look back. Okay, go and look back. When you go, you can actually go online and look for adverse childhood experiences. Now, how does stress affect the developing brain that's in the child's brain? All right, it will affect the amygdala, the hippocampus, the frontal lobe, the corpus callosum, and reduce the size of the cortex. So that means, no joke, when you use MRI on the brain, you can see that the different parts of the brain are either smaller or more active. Okay? So emotions and stress affect a person. You can't see the brain moving or working with your naked eye, but something is going on. Okay? Now, what will happen? It means that frontal lobe is in front here. You know, Dr. Lai is a policeman. Okay? Impulse control. So it's affected. So a child will just jump up and want to do something, they'll immediately want something. They have problem with management, organizing their things. They have problem with time management. They don't understand. For example, if as a teacher, if I walk into the classroom with my hands on my hips, what will you do? Okay, with my hands on my hips, my body language, what does it mean? It means that you are in trouble. The teacher is mad. So all of you will just shut up and look down, right? Then you will have one child. Teacher, why are you standing in such a funny way? Usually those children may have autism. But what I'm saying is that don't know how to read body language and don't know how to behave in a social manner, no social skills. Okay? You can have problems with solving word problems in maths. Ali has 5 marbles. Okay? His friend Fatima has 2 marbles. You know, the kind of thing, Ali have problems. Right? Then you have difficulty with controlling emotions. And another interesting thing is difficult to understand cause and effect. If you keep doing this, A, B will happen. So if you don't want B to happen, what might happen? You should stop doing A. They cannot link. So when studying also, there are a lot of cause and effect, especially in science, very difficult. Dia tak nampak. Okay. Doesn't know how to feel. Oh, you poor thing, you fell down. You fell down. All right. Okay. Very anxious. This is what teachers get very worried about, and parents. Learning is impaired. All right. Cannot remember what they learn, and they're very impulsive. You see, you want, you grab. Teacher! Okay? Peter took my pencil. He didn't ask for permission. You'll have haywire. Okay. So these are the different parts of the brain I was talking about, yeah? So stress can be positive and negative. It can be a reaction to an important event like a wedding. Ladies, you all remember preparing for wedding? Very stressful, right? Okay. And it's all just for one day only, you know, the ceremony. Okay? Or it could be something like an exam. Okay, that is very stressful. Stress can also, if something happens, like a loved one passes away, it can, for a child, it can also be their cat passing away. Okay? Now, some stress is negative. Remember the distress? They cause fear, hopelessness, worry, anxiety, doubt. So how are you going to learn if you're a child? And as if you are teachers, how are you going to teach when you can't focus? Okay? You keep on thinking, oh, whatever is happening. Mild or moderate level of distress are normal, and actually we need to teach our children to tahan sikit. I want now. Okay? You can have this after you have done this work. So, okay? You can have the ice cream after you've eaten your dinner. Because you want the child to eat the dinner, right? Not eat the sweet first, right? So we need to teach, must be able to tahan a bit, all right? And if the person is very distressed, he or she, whether adult or child, cannot function normally, right? Now, common causes of stress in children include conflicts with others, poor health, unhealthy habits, overly full schedule. Malaysia has this problem. Children have tuition in every subject, no? And tuition starts from kindergarten. I have flyers stuck in my post box. Wow, kindergarten put other tuition. I say, wow, I was thinking to myself, I never went for tuition until SPM last time, and for one subject. Okay? And then be careful when there's divorce, death, and other, or moving to another house, moving to another state. All right? That is stress. Right. What happens, okay, in school as a result of this? Okay? First, the child, if all very stressed out, may have a problem sleeping at night. So if they have a problem sleeping at night, they have a problem getting up and going to school. Okay? And they're tired in school. If you are stressed up, you may be feeling agitated and get angry easily. All right? When you are upset and stressed, you like to say yes or you like to say no. You notice you like to say no, right? Okay, then, all right. When things are uncertain, they get very upset. They want to know what is happening next. For special children, we have a visual timetable. You will do, all right, we will have circle time. Then we're going to do a little bit of, all right, work on your on phonics. After that, you will have a break followed by music. So we actually tell them. So at home, it will be useful. And even in your subject, for example, if you are teaching English, you can actually tell them the first 15 minutes we are doing this, and after we're doing something else. It helps the child. They will struggle to pay attention, okay, and difficult to focus. Next thing is this. Our stomach pain every day, headache every day, okay? This one, suddenly crying, cannot manage emotions, feeling worried all the time. Now, what is self-regulation actually? It's the ability to manage emotions, impulses, and behavior. And, all right, it's also what? Being flexible and able to adapt. All right? So we do have children, especially if they have autism, who are not flexible and cannot adapt. So they will only eat two types of, okay? They will only eat chicken drumstick and fishball. Nothing else, okay? And there are even children, if your food, if the chicken drumstick and the fishball touches the rice, they won't eat. It has to be separated. All right? If a teacher doesn't come, the teacher is sick, another teacher takes over, they get upset, cannot adapt. Now, self-regulation is dependent on environmental and contextual support. What does that mean? First, your temperament. Have you all heard of, oh, your daughter is exactly like your sister or like your mother? Have you heard that? So there are some of us who are naturally, hi, very sociable. Then the others very quiet. So in the context of my husband and myself, you can of course see who is the more sociable one and the one who is more quiet. It's very obvious. Okay. Okay. So, luckily for my children, okay, they're more like him. Okay. But when it comes to English, they take after me. So, okay. Because I teach English anyway. All right. Now, so your genes and all that will affect. Then, self-regulation skills. What is the meaning of the word skills? Skills is something that you do, which means it can be learned. Correct? It can be learned. So it doesn't mean, oh, I'm born like that, I'm so emotional. No, you can learn to control. Okay? In fact, most of us, when there is your boss around, suddenly know how to control very well, right? So skills means it can be learned. When it can learn means you can teach the children. When we all went back to school, what were the first few things you had to teach the kids? Washing hands, isn't it? Correct or not? And sitting apart. Okay? I'm telling you, at first I got worried because I helped my church with to manage their kindergarten. So I die 3, 4, 5 years old. No. Hey, manage it. Can. They can be taught. So if you can teach the children the hand washing routine and how to stay socially distanced, that means you can teach emotional regulation. Okay? Okay? Give them regulation. Now remember, it develops over time. Takes a bit of time. Motivation to self-regulate. All right? Show the children what will happen if they can self-regulate. Example, I don't want to play. Okay, when that happens, then you don't play. Okay, then you tell them, you see, your friends are playing so happily. So then they suddenly realize that, oh, I think I would like to play. So what do I need to do to play? Well, you need to learn how to share and you need to learn how to follow the rules if you want to play the game. So they will learn, then they have fun. So you tell them what will happen. Normally, you know what we do in Malaysia? All right? Or, you, okay? Don't play lah. Don't ask properly. Don't play. Go sit down there. Next time, don't play forever. Okay? Or else, why you don't know how to play? You don't know. So bodoh, chongkat, you don't know how to play. Your mother never taught you. Obviously, mother didn't teach. That's why he doesn't know how to play. One of the other ones, I tell you, this is the best one. Why are you so rude? Your mother never taught you manners. Okay? So I tell my teachers complain, the children nowadays don't know how to please and thank you. I say, yeah. The reason why is really their mother didn't teach. They look at me. Because nowadays, like you and I, we are mothers. Where are you doing? You're working, right? So if you've got a kakak at home, an Indonesian maid, kakak's job not to teach manners, Right or not? So that's why the children don't have manners. So we unfortunately have to teach. What is that? I'm from KL. I don't speak Cantonese, Hokkien, but there's a beautiful term. What? Pao swa, pao what? Pao hai. Everything also. That's us now. In kindergarten, now we have to teach the children, all right, toileting. They are coming to kindergarten at 4 years old and 5 years old wearing diapers. Okay, caregiver can support, and us teachers can support by what? Modeling what to do and teaching them and coaching them. Environmental context, make sure that the area where you want the children to be, all right, is comfortable and properly, with proper furniture. Okay, what is self-regulation? You need to focus attention, manage difficult and uncomfortable emotions, and also delay gratification. Wait. I love teaching delaying gratification. Take your turn and wait by playing games. You know, snakes and ladders, must you wait or not? You take turn, right? What's that game? I call it, what's the time, Mr. Wolf? What's it, Bahasa? Or Malay? One child will stand there and say 3 o'clock. Then the kids at the back will ask, what's the time? Okay, so they will keep going nearer and nearer, and they will run when the wolf suddenly says, it's dinner time. Right. But you see, when you get them to play that game, dia mesti apa? They have to listen. Then they have to get ready to suddenly stop or suddenly run. So you're actually teaching them. So use games. All right. Okay, what are the skills you want to develop? Working memory, inhibitory control, cognitive flexibility, and attention. Okay, I will go through that. Now, if a child is unable to regulate emotions, the child will be emotionally unstable and will what? Cannot tahan every time, every little thing also. So in the end, you can have a child who is 10 years old and you got so fed up. Why are you so childish, like a baby? Have you all? Ada kan? That cannot tahan minor stresses. And can get upset very easily, every little thing. Right. Now, neuroplasticity. This is something new that came up actually over the past 10 years or so. TED Talk has a lot of information on this. I just want to tell you this. In the 1990s and the early 2000s until now, all right, something happened in the study of neuroscience. Suddenly, we have wonderful machines that can peep inside the brain. You don't have to cut open my brain to go and to check, you can see all this. And because of that, a lot of the scientists learned a lot about how the brain works. And one of them is this. Your brain can learn. So it can learn how to regulate themselves. Okay? So they've also learned that apparently, if one part of your brain doesn't work, you can train your brain to use another part to do the same thing. Useful for stroke victims, right? So, you know what's plastic, right? So, the brain is plastic. It can change. So, the brain is constantly rewiring itself. Neurons that wire together will fire, means they're active. And they can make new patterns. So a different part of your brain, all right, can learn to do something new. Now in primary school, what do? We teach problem solving, model, we show them, we demonstrate conflict resolution, we provide time, space, and support to help their children manage their emotions. We model, we prompt, that means I'm very famous for this in school. Yes, what do you say? I actually asking the child to say thank you. So this is what happened once. I was in a classroom, I was in a staff room. One child came in, I think she was about standard 2, and she had a pile of books. Obviously, she wanted to put the books on the teacher's table, and she was looking around, so dia tak tahu meja mana. So I said, yes, girl, whose teacher's desk are you looking for? Miss Wong. Miss Wong's table is over there, next to the window. Okay, she put the book down, then off. Then she's going to go out. Excuse me, come back here. What do you say? I help you. So what do you say to me? You know the magic words. The school is using magic words. Magic words. Okay. So what do you say to me? Please, thank you, sorry, excuse me. So when Miss Wong came in, I called her by her name. Hey, have you been doing a lot of multiple choice questions with your students? She said, huh? Because when I asked your child, all right, what to say to me after I showed her your table, your child told me, please, thank you, sorry, excuse me. So I'm supposed to choose multiple choice question. Okay. Now, next, teach time management skills and then help the child. You know, this is what we normally do. The teacher will, okay, you'll do your work, Okay, time's up. When you're marking, wow, steam coming out, the child didn't do, no. So went back, why you don't work? Actually, it's better if you do this. Give the children work, 5 minutes later, go and walk, see whether children are getting on, if you see one or two, then you better start asking, okay, do you need help? So monitor. Go around. A lot of our children are very well trained not to ask any questions. So you got to go and ask. Okay, then it is better for you because your blood pressure won't go up. Okay, and then you don't spoil your throat by shouting, your voice box by shouting at the child. Why in the world? So monitor. You can also say, all right, children, you should have finished question 1 by now. Please go on to session 2. Anyone has a difficulty? Right. I'm now going to the practical part. So how do you support self-regulation? First, provide labels. What is the meaning of happy and sad? If you go online, okay, in YouTube, you can actually find emotion songs and emotion videos. Yeah. Teach them how to self-talk. It's okay. All right, I can try again. So you teach them. Demonstrate, teach them how to do deep breathing. Ask the child to follow the other children. Okay, what they're doing. Look at them, say, what is that boy doing? All right. Reinforce them for responding. Oh, good. I like the way you did that. Now, what's the next step? Explain the rules. We are very good at this. We were very good at this, isn't it, for COVID-19? We demonstrated how to wash hands. Then we put the child in front of the sink. Okay? We prompted them to follow. And in addition, we put up visual prompt. Did you all put up posters how to wash hands? See? Pandainya kita. Okay. Explain the rules. Okay, what are the problems or difficult situations? I actually went and I was thinking that we are going to have a problem in the kindergarten. Before MCO, we are all good friends. We must share with each other. Then after MCO, don't touch other people's things. You don't share. The children get confused. So in every classroom, I had a picture of a cartoon virus. You see, because of Mr. COVID-19, okay, we cannot share. So I externalize it out to Mr. COVID-19 because I didn't want the children later on to say, no, my kindergarten teacher, Datin, Indranee taught me I cannot share. No, mati saya. And then learn to delay gratification. Now here, teach your children these words in Bahasa, in Tamil, in Mandarin, in English. They need to have the vocab to, all right, tell you how they feel. Okay, here. Then teach your children, for example, when you're angry, okay, when you're angry, how will your shoulders feel? And your hands. Okay, then when you're happy, so you teach them to what? Recognize the body, that the body reacts in different ways according to your emotion. So once they can feel this feeling of tightness there, they know, oh, I'm stressed, I'm angry. So they try to deliberately take in a deep breath and relax. Okay. Now, teach them the 5 steps to managing this, okay, big emotions. All right. So it is never okay to hurt other people. So I want to hit, you see, angry. Count, take deep breaths, count to 10. Then use my mouth to say what happened. Ask for help to solve the problem, then take time to calm down. Now, wait. Here, 10 ways to calm down. Okay. Marisa, I will doctorize, what do you call that, PowerPoint in mine. PDF, and then you can actually give the participants. Okay, here, how to breathe in and out. Now, teach them, if I am upset, I can think happy thoughts, I can draw a picture, get a drink of water, put my head down on the table, I can read a book, I can hug my toy bear, okay? So teach them what to do. So instead, imagine I tell you this, no, you cannot be angry. No, you cannot. Okay? Susah tak? So that's why a lot of people, they get angry, what they do? Bam! They hit the table. All right? Or they hit someone because they are reacting. The body, all the muscles are ready to move, already, and then you can't do anything. So what we do is that we teach them alternative behavior. Okay, and these alternative behaviors are socially acceptable. Okay, now then it's nice. When I am feeling frustrated, I can choose to take a walk, take deep breaths to count. So actually, when you put it up in the class and the children, what? You can see one child, aha, I can see that you're upset now, you're getting frustrated, a bit angry. Okay, now look here. Okay, which would you like to do? Choose one. And actually, when I was teaching in UK, we actually had Play-Doh and soft cushions, okay? And then you know that the stress balls, you know, once we put it there so the children could actually go there and hit the Play-Doh or squash the Play-Doh to relax, to release their tension. All right, this is an emotional thermometer. It measures your emotions. We all know thermometers very well nowadays. Everywhere we go, we have to take temperature. Okay, this is the old-fashioned type, not the digital one. So at the bottom here, I'm very happy, I'm sad, I'm upset, I'm angry. Okay, so when you're raged, stop, don't do anything. You notice that when there is violence, when a man hits a woman, it's because he cannot, he's up to number 10, the rage, and he can't control, right? He whacks. So now you teach, you can be angry, but you do not touch anyone. And then, what do? Here's something that you can do, choose one behavior. Yeah, okay, this is the stop traffic light. Choose thing, stop. Okay. Okay, stop, calm down and breathe. Okay, think of other people. Okay, think of other people. Now, think. What is the problem? Okay, what are your options or choices? And then, what are the consequences? What will happen if you go and hit? You'll end up in the principal's office, isn't it? Okay, I can tell you one that's my first training is in law. There was a case in England in the early 80s. Boyfriend, girlfriend quarrel. Of all the places to quarrel, must quarrel on the staircase. Boyfriend wanted to hit the girlfriend. Girlfriend stepped backwards, fell down the stairs, rolled down the stairs. Then he decided to drag the girlfriend up the stairs, okay, and put her in the bathtub, went to the kitchen. Why? Went to the kitchen to get all sorts of knives and managed to chop her up in pieces and then put in bags and then threw it all around the whole of London. Okay, so he was caught in the end because the girl's parents asked, where is my daughter? So that young man lost his whole future. He ended up in jail. Why? Because he lost control of his hand. All right? So very important to teach. So what are the consequences of action? If you hit, what's going to happen? Then now, make your green. Make your choice. What is it you want to do? You want to read a book? Okay. You want to play with Play-Doh? Okay. You want to bang on the soft cushion? Okay. Or talk to someone. These are behavior reflection sheets, which I love. Okay. If something has happened, so now, what happened? Well, you're not on task. It means you're not doing the work. You are being disrespectful. You're not following instructions. You are pushing or hitting, so you tick. Now, what was your feeling? Were you scared, angry, sad, worried, or something else? What will you do next time? Okay. Now, this particular reflection sheet over this side has not using kind words and being out of your seat. That means not sitting down. And I use it a lot. And you know what happened? The children, they will come to me because the teacher sent the child out. Miss Indranee, my teacher asked me to come and see you. Okay, and this is the second or third, fourth time. Can I do the sheet, please? They'll go and do, then they'll tell me all about it. But this is helping them to reflect. Now, this is a thing sheet. Circle how you are feeling. Mad, embarrassed, annoyed, tired, worried, scared, jealous. Then here, I like this. So now, next time I choose to, no. How were you feeling and then what did you do? I chose to do this. Next time, what will I do instead? This is what I will do. So you're teaching the child, all right, alternative behavior. Then this is you teach the child, okay, then after that you give them this lovely worksheet, good or bad choices. So all the good choices, the good behavior, color in green. All the behavior which are unacceptable in red. So you're teaching them again. Okay. This is a chart again, anger 1 to 5. Okay, these are the feelings here, mad, furious, frustrated. I like this. What is the behavior like when you're mad or furious? I can't handle it. I hit, I kick, I scream, I cry. Okay, then here, what can I do instead? I can take a break, etc. Here, upset. So I'm whining. I don't want. Okay, so what can you do instead? I can be kind. You actually teach this. Okay, so you put this in the class and you teach them. Then children, okay, how can you be kind? Then after that, you're doing something. Okay, Mary. Okay. Today, all right, you are going to be doing your work with Min. Okay? Right? Now, Min didn't bring her pencil case. How can you be kind? Share lah, stationery. But you keep teaching. You have to keep using the vocab until they get it. That's it. Ways to show kindness. So you can have once a week kindness day. And then when you are playing, you are respectful. Notice kita guna the word that is positive. We don't say naughty. Don't be naughty. We say you must be respectful of other people. There is one thing I noticed in Malaysia. Don't run, don't run. Don't run! Jangan lari, jangan lari! You know what the child hears? Lari, 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 run, run, run. Run faster lah. So you change your words. Walk, please. Walk. Jalan ya, jalan. Then they hear the verb you want, the action you want, which is walk, walk, walk. So can you change your language? Okay. No, I can accept no. You know, some children who cannot take no must have one. This is teaching them how to accept no. No, don't argue. Instead, this is what you do. This is good now. Instead of arguing, I'm going to say, I kindly disagree because I have a different opinion. Wow. The teaching. They can use this next time when they're in university and at work, right? I disagree with you. And then next, this is very important. Teach them that mistakes are expected, respected, inspected, corrected. Now, I had this child in year 1. The teachers all came to complain. This child, sikit-sikit pun nangis punya tau. Sikit-sikit, everything, didn't bring the book, okay, everything. The pencil, okay, drop the eraser on the floor, cry, everything. Teachers were really fed up. My battery's running low, excuse me. Okay, so this is what I did. I went into the class and decided there were about 10 of them. I decided to teach them origami. I gave them paper. Now we will fold a boat. Okay? Halfway through, I deliberately tore the paper. Oh no! My paper is torn. What shall I do? Oh, I know. I can get another piece of paper and start again. Okay? That's what I did. Okay, then I thought, so okay, sometimes things won't go. Sometimes things will go wrong. You know, you make mistakes. Never mind. Try again. She was better after that. So I was actually modeling. What drama lah? Okay. Then next thing is this. My husband and I are very worried. Do you know that we are actually forcing our children to be perfect? Must get 100 marks on. I was very upset when the SPM they added a new grade A plus. A plus is 90 marks. Correct? So what happens is our children are now all trying to get what? Perfect marks, as near 100 as possible. And they are very stressed. Okay? And then also, young children get upset. I have had a few children, when their teacher marks in red pen, they cry. Kindergarten and year 1. Why? They have come from other places whereby, and they kena marah. All the X's in red and they kena marah. So actually, my teachers in kindergarten mark using purple, pink, and green pen and orange pens. And, all right, they don't go like that. So children now get upset about mistakes, but actually, mistakes are an opportunity for you to learn. So tell them it's okay to make a mistake. Okay, but you learn from it. Then here you can teach them about friendship. This can be a higher level primary class. Actually, you can use it in secondary school also, right? And there are issues of children having attention problem, cannot focus in class. After 5-10 minutes, somewhere else. And I'm telling you, there are more and more because of what Dr. Wong said just now. The children are now children born in the digital era. When they were born with computers and handphone. So, have you seen in a restaurant, the whole family is there, and everyone, there are 5 people or 6 people sitting there, and each person, young and old, has a device. I even seen kakak also got device. Kakak holding the device for baby. Terror, no? So, the children are used to light, sound, action. Then dia datang sekolah. Murid-murid duduk, ya. Okay, ambil buku teks. Okay, turn to page 5. Of course, they cannot focus on you. Now, if your face looks like a TV or computer screen, no problem. But although I prayed to God to give me a computer screen face, it didn't work. All right. So you need to learn how to teach them. 1, be more active. Okay, you must, as I said, drama sikit. Next, every 10 minutes or so, change your activity. Then in between, okay, give some exercise. Okay, everyone stand up. All right. If you go to YouTube, you look for brain breaks. Brain breaks. Give your brain a break. There are a lot of exercises, the videos, which can be done in the class. All you need to do is that the child stands up, pushes the chair in under the desk, and then they can exercise. Brain breaks. Okay. Use visual reminders. It's very important nowadays. For example, you know, all the posters I showed you, put it up and then you go and point. What does it say? How can we do this? How can we be kind? Then when you want the children to do the work, write it out. Write the instructions. Okay? Now, you are going to do questions 1, 2, 3, 4 on page 5. So you write 1 to 10. You are going to, then after that, turn to page 6 and do questions 4, 5, 6. Very clearly. All right, then after that, everyone, have you finished question 1? Excellent, so it is done. So everyone should be on question 2 now. Anyone not on question 2? Right. Then play games. Games that teach them attention, like Jenga and all that. They have to focus. Those are actually very good. Children need to be taught social skills because it's social and emotional. Not having social skills means they will not have friends. This is especially important for children with autism. They have to be taught. You just have to remember this. Children do not automatically pick up social skills and all that. They need to be taught. Last time you were taught that. Say, please say thank you, all right? But there are some children who don't have that at home. So then you have to teach. All right. So I'm ending. So school readiness consists of social, emotional competencies as well as cognitive and motivational ones. And I went through some ideas for teaching social and emotional competencies. All right, if you want to contact me, my email is very easy, indraneeliew@gmail.com. Please remember that Indranee is spelled with an N-E-E. The alternative spelling is N-I. So mine is an N-E-E. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, yeah, Datin, for such a very energetic speech. Yeah, she has a lot to share with us. Yeah, thanks again. So now I think I will pass the mic to Fatima. It's not that time. Oh, okay. Maybe I can still, spare some time for Q&A. Yeah. Soal jawab, so sesi.
From the lab, just say, anyone got any questions, please type in the chat.
Yeah. For online participants, you can also type the questions in the chat room. Okay, I understand that Dr. Lai has a workshop tomorrow. It's a solution-focused approach. Today and tomorrow, yeah. So maybe while waiting for the audience to send in questions, may I ask Dr. Lai to share some tips about solution-focused approach so that the school counselors can probably use in their sessions with students? The solution-focused approach.
Oh, hold up. We have a problem. My computer died and this one is not working.
Just use the mic.
Also, she can be heard.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. Actually, another name for solution-focused approach is hope-focused approach. Pendekatan berfokuskan harapan. It's a hope. It's a harapan focus. Not the party. It's the hope. Our hope for the future. Okay. It's the hope-focused approach. So when children come to see you, if you want to use a solution focus, you focus more on the positive. So focus more on the positive. So katakan kanak-kanak disuruh datang jumpa guru bimbingan sebab dia tak buat homework. Okay, you tanya dia, minggu lepas ada buat homework tak? Berapa hari ada buat homework? So dia kata out of the 5 days, maybe 1 hari yang buat homework. Then you, instead of looking at the 4 days tak buat homework, you look at the 1 day dia buat homework, and then you focus on that 1 day. Mengapa apa yang berlainan, hari Selasa, mengapa adik boleh buat homework? Boleh bagi tahu cikgu tak? What helped you to do homework on Tuesday? You know, maybe because your father sit down with you to do homework and so on. Maybe very quickly, let me tell you a story, then you can remember this technique. There was this psychiatrist. His name was Dr. Milton Erickson. So dia ada seorang anak primary school lah, sekolah rendah. Tiap-tiap petang dia akan pergi jemput anak dia dari sekolah. And then one of the good friend of the anak dia, ada seorang kawan rapat, nama dia John. So one day, John akan tiap-tiap hari tumpang kereta dia lah untuk balik rumah. So one day dia nampak John itu muka susah hati, muram. Dia tanya anak dia, mengapa John hari ini sedih saja? Dan anak dia pun bagi tahu, dalam kelas tadi cikgu suruh John diri di depan kelas dan tunjuk buku tulisan dia dan kata ini tulisan yang paling hodoh yang pernah saya nampak. Okay, this is the worst handwriting I've ever seen in my life. And then all the children laugh at him. So John pun susah hati. So what this Dr. Erickson did was ask John, John tunjukkan buku tulisan John. And John was frightened lah, you know, he already got scolded by the teacher. Now this doctor want to see my book. Tapi dia kata, tak apa John, bagi saya tengok. So John reluctantly gave him the exercise book. He opened, he looked, and then he pointed to one letter, one letter that John wrote very well. He said, this T is very well written. Huruf T ini sangat cantik. The top touch the top line, the bottom touch the bottom line, and the middle line is just on the line. This is very well written T. And John tiba-tiba, you know, the mata buka besar-besar, and then took back the book and look at the T. Betul, that T was very well written. The other were very, very badly written. The T was very well. That's all he said. Then he drove home. Then every day, bila John masuk kereta dia akan kata, John, tunjuk buku tulisan. And then he will look for what is very well written. He says, oh, this A is very well written, and this M is very well written. Very good, this 2 is very well written. And then he showed it back to John. Itu saja. Tiap-tiap hari dia buat macam itu. At the end of the year, John dapat pingat untuk tulisan yang paling cantik. This is solution focus. You focus on the solution. You focus on apa yang you nak. Okay? Kita fokus on apa yang kita nak. Kita bagi anak-anak itu harapan bahawa dia boleh. Not by scolding, but by looking for what he can do. Okay.
Ya. Terima kasih ya Dato Dr. Lai. Ya, betul, bila kita fokus pada penyelesaian, solution tu, kita lebih positif. Terutama sekali sekarang kita kena menangani dengan COVID-19 kan. Jadi dengan harapan, dengan sikap positif, fokus kepada penyelesaian. Ya. Jadi sekarang saya boleh ajak soalan daripada audience. Ya. Mungkin sebab speaker tak sangat bagus kan, sangat jelas kan dalam speech mereka. Jadi sekarang kita boleh tutup sesi ini.